Assalamualaikum everyone. Today we will explain about the prohibition of Gharar in modern exchange. Have you ever heard and know about Gharar? If this is your first time, let's hear our explanation. Firstly, let's start with the general definition of Gharar. The word Gharar has become somewhat of a general term in the modern lexicon. Sales or financial transactions considered as Gharar are judged relative to the level of misunderstanding that might exist between parties and the level of uncertainty that the goods of payment can be delivered. Gharar is generally prohibited under Islam because there is a set of strict rules in Islamic finance against transactions that are highly uncertain or that may cause any injustice or deceit against any of the parties. In finance, Gharar is observed within derivative transactions such as forwards, futures, and options, as well as in short selling and other forms of speculation. In Islamic finance, most derivative contracts are forbidden and considered invalid because of the uncertainty involved in the future delivery of the underlying asset. Scholars differentiate between minor and substantial Gharar, and while most derivative products are prohibited due to excessive uncertainty, such as commercial insurance, and are vital parts of economic life, it is also permissible for a seller to short sell fungible items, such as wheat and other commodities to be delivered or a late date to a buyer. Okay, now you know about the definition of Gharar in general. Let's dive into that about the definition of Gharar related to modern exchange.
So, the prohibition of Gharar in modern exchange refers to any uncertainties and risk in financial transactions. It means that making sure that a term of a deal is clear and not leaving any room for any confusions. This principle aims to promote fairness in economic dealings and discouraging activities like gambling.
Do you have an example that you could elaborate to us?
So, imagine you're buying a used car and the seller says that I will sell you this car, but I can't tell you when you will receive this car. Therefore, as you can see, this introduces Gharar into the transaction. Hi there, I would like to exchange some money. Can you help me out?
Of course. What currency would you like to exchange?
I have some currency, ringgit, that I would like to exchange into dollars. But I heard that the exchange rate has been fluctuating a lot recently. Is it a good time to exchange money?
Well, the exchange rate has been quite volatile recently. It's hard to predict how it will change in the near future.
Oh no, that makes me a bit nervous. I don't want to lose out my money, you know.
I understand your concern. Unfortunately, currency exchange rate can be unpredictable. It's always a risk, especially during uncertain times. Okay, now let's move on to our first research question. What are the key principles and practices that can be implemented in modern financial transactions to minimize uncertainty while aligning with the Islamic economic guidelines? So, the first key principles and practices that can be implemented is transparency and disclosure. So, emphasize complete and accurate disclosure of transaction details and foster trust and confidence by sharing information on assets, returns, risks, fees, and terms. So, for the second one is risk sharing and partnership. So, encourage risk sharing through principles like joint venture and suku insurance. For example, shift from fixed return to profit and loss sharing agreement. For example, musyarakah and mudarabah. Okay, next is asset-based financing. So, utilize contract like murabahah and ijara based on tangible goods. And precise valuation procedures are essential when incorporating intangible assets. So, for the last one is takaful integration. Implement Islamic insurance such as takaful for shared responsibility against unforeseen circumstances.
By emphasizing the likelihood and influence of occurrences on organizational goals, conventional finance defines risk as the possibility of financial losses. According to Islamic law, Gharar is any action that could have unfavorable effects or that uses unfair tactics to create uncertainty during contract talks or making agreement void. The Sahih Muslim Hadith prohibits transactions that include ambiguity, which serves as rationale for the Islamic finance industry's ban on Gharar as a dispute resolution tool. Even though it is desirable for Islamic financial transactions to avoid Gharar, real-world situations present difficulties since risk management is complicated by things like ambiguous topic matter, unknown volumes, and delayed payment. Understanding the fundamentals of modern trade is essential given its fast expansion, especially in Islamic banking, where Gharar-free transactions are seen as more equitable and advantageous for society as a whole. In the realm of conventional finance, risk is characterized as the potential for encountering financial losses, representing the likelihood and impact of events that could hinder an organization's goals attainment. The conventional financial approach revolves around the dual objective of maximizing profits while concurrently minimizing risk. The origins of Gharar and the Islamic understanding of it, which states that Gharar is associated with any activity that might have negative consequences and implications. All aspects that involve imprecise identifications of the subject matter, possession, and price, as well as the danger, and is prohibited and penalized in Islamic principle. Business risk is permitted as long as there is enough knowledge about the issue before starting a venture. However, in the real world, the circumstances could be different, which frequently occurs while a contract is being made. Gharar happens in a variety of transactions where the price, the topic matter, or both are not predetermined and fixed. Short-selling contracts, derivative instruments, and capital market speculations are good instances of Gharar in modern exchange.
Last but not least, how does the Gharar differ from Qimar and Maisir?
In Islamic finance, Gharar warns against uncertain or ambiguous transaction, aligning with ideas of justice and moral behavior.
Deals involving Gharar can lead to unfair enrichment or exploitation. Islamic finance promotes transparency, fairness, and ethical business dealings to benefit society. Maisir and Qimar refer to gambling discouraged in Islam to encourage honest labor and lawful economic activities. These principles, Gharar, Qimar, and Maisir, shape Islamic finance, emphasizing moral conduct, economic fairness, and avoidance of exploitation. A simple example of Gharar could be selling goods that you don't yet possess, making the transaction uncertain due to the lack of clarity on the actual product. For Maisir, consider a situation where money is staked on the outcome of a dice roll. The gain or loss is based on chance rather than any productive or meaningful activity.
Alright, we'll move on to the reasons for Gharar prohibition. The first one is prevent fraudulence. The primary reason why Gharar is prohibited is because the contract involving Gharar are fraudulent and some sort of deception. As opposed to generally providing a superior bargain, ambiguity in rights and obligation can be utilized to deceive individuals with Gharar. On the other hand, the second reasoning is to prevent future disputes. Disputes may naturally arise between the involved parties regarding the precise and intended realization of the contract. A lack of complete awareness and clarity regarding the information about the contract. Furthermore, interdependent and conditional contract is one of the reasons why Gharar is prohibited. So, let's say that contracts are not connected or mixed. If the selling price is contingent on a certain event that may or may not occur, then significant Gharar arises. And lastly, there are possibilities of oppression and injustice. The principle of fair transaction and the rule of justice underpin the prohibition of Gharar. A transaction that may lead to oppression, injustice, or the loss of property for one or both parties constitute gharar. Additionally, gharar can violate the principle of mutual consent.
Okay, let's move on to hear from the next person about how the concept of Gharar can be applied to the trading of derivatives such as future or option contracts.
So how we relate with Gharar? In future contract, there are actually problem with the underlying asset itself. So the normal application of future contract is the current market is they are actually speculators. So here come the main problem because they are actually no assets was traded. They just speculate the future price of the assets, and it's aligned with the teaching of Islam that forbids selling something that is not with you. Okay, so we'll move on to the real example nowadays in the modern exchange. So one of the example is a future contract in derivative market. So what is a future contract? So a simple explanation, I can say that there are two parties, a seller and a buyer. Okay, they want to trade a certain commodity, so they make a contract to trade the asset, but the contract will take action in the future.
Bank Negara Malaysia need to provide clear and comprehensive guidelines to help market participants to understand and adhere to Gharar prohibitions. For instance, Gharar in a Sharia prohibited transaction is no different from deceptions in a business transaction where the aim is unknown and therefore the risk involved. Islamic banking compliance apparatus should be on high alert, ensuring compliance with Gharar and regulatory bodies are required to robust monitoring on mechanism and systems, hence they are able to sidestep the uncertainty. In addressing the challenges against Gharar in the context of the present-day financial market in legal and jurisdictional issues. According to Mohamed, 2016, Salam contract, although the transact item does not exist at the time of the contract, the quality and quantity of the transact item are clear and will be provided at the agreed time. For instance, a buyer commits to purchasing a commodity at a fixed price in the future, while the seller assures delivery on a specific date. If the commodity price swings dramatically between the agreement and delivery, disputes may develop.
Since we already hear the explanation about prohibiting of Gharar in modern exchange, therefore I would like to share about this SDG that related to this topic. Okay, the first SDG is SDG 1, which is no poverty. Gharar prevention can help protect individuals and community from exploitative financial practice, contributing to poverty reduction. Moreover, let's hear from the Al-Quran verses related to prohibition of Gharar in modern exchange.
There are many examples of gharar-based transaction like the sale of offspring in womb of a pregnant animal, sale of fish in water and birds in the sky.
Okay, now we have come into the end of our video. Here are some quotes why we need to eliminate Gharar from our life.
Avoid uncertainty.
Embrace clarity.
In modern exchange, clear information, create uncertainty, making use ethical and straightforward. Bye!